So I'm sitting here in a park in the sun, eating some bread and coleslaw, and I'm going to tell you more about the house that I mentioned in the last recording. So it's a pretty big house. It has a lot of rooms in it, and it's a pretty old-fashioned house. It was probably built in the, let's see now, 10s or 20s, I would guess. Around 100 years ago, it used to be a butcher who lived there, who used the space in the bottom of the building to sell meat. And there's plates on the floor in the bottom floor of the house that are left there from when it was a butcher's place. But that space we're not usually in when we are in the house. That's not the space where we have furniture. This space kind of looks like a empty cafe, or a cafe space, but it's empty from tables and chairs, because there's like plates all over the floor and all over the walls. And there's a lot of paintings in this house. In every single room there is art hanging on the walls, and there are a lot of books. Books is probably the thing that you will find the most of in this house. More than vinyl records, more than CDs, more than magazines, more than comic books, more than artworks. You will find books. And in the big living room there is a large bookshelf on the short wall, and there are several small bookshelves on the long wall, and there's a little room which you can go into from the big living room, which is like a shed, and it's filled with books. It's like only books in the entire room. So what kind of books exist there? Well, a lot of novels, realistic novels, a lot of philosophy books, also a lot of books about culture exist there. And the guy who owns the house hasn't read all books. He has only read a little bit of all the books, but I found a lot of good books there. And so I'm sitting here in the sun, eating bread and coleslaw in a park. And I'm gonna tell you about the house that I mentioned in the last recording. I'm gonna tell you more about the house. It's a pretty big house. It was built around 100 years ago. There's a lot of books in the house. You can find novels, realistic novels, philosophy books. You can find books about culture, history books. In the living room there's a large record player, and if you go down a floor there's a room that the owner of the house calls the library, where there is another record player, and the record player in the library has a remote control, so you can pause and play the records with the remote control while you sit in a couch. And there's a large bookshelf from floor to roof in this room called the library, which is completely filled with books. And there's another bookshelf across that room or outside that room, and then in the big living room on the top floor there is a bookshelf that spans across the entire one of the short sides of the room, and then on the long side of the room there's several small bookshelves, and then there's a little room that looks like a little shed which you can go into from the big living room, and this shed is a shed just for books, and it's completely filled with books. And there's also board games in this shed. So the guy that owns this house is really a collector. He collects a lot of stuff: books, vinyl records, CDs, comic books, magazines, art, mostly pictures and paintings that sit on the walls, and also furniture. He really likes furniture, and he knows a lot about designers, because he's really interested in designers that design furniture, and also artists. So he he knows a lot. For example, you can go in a city and he knows a lot of names of people that design the buildings, and if people have some interesting furniture in their house, he very often knows who designed the furniture, because he's very good at designers and stuff like that, and he has a large collection of furniture. So in all rooms there are interesting, cool, awesome furniture. So very nice. And there's one room that is a green room, and it has a green tapestry with yellow flowers. And there's one room that could be called the blue room, because the floor is blue and the bed is blue. And in the bathroom, all the walls are covered with a tapestry of like orange and yellow flowers. And in the kitchen there is a lot of shelves, and there is a CD player that I have on the kitchen floor that works in the way that when you play CDs, it lays on its flat side like a vinyl player, and you see the CD spinning around on top of it. So CDs spin very fast. So I always play CDs there when I make food. And there's a lot of shelves, like I said, in the kitchen, because there's a lot of kitchen things, a lot of plates, a lot of mugs. There are mugs, coffee mugs with all different kind of motifs on them. There's one with elephants, one black mug with a white chandelier, one mug with a butterfly, one mug with red hands, one mug with blue kaleidoscopic patterns. And like I said, this guy really is interested in designers, so he has a lot of interesting, cool things that he collected, like for the last 30 or something years. So he has a lot of cool stuff there. And Yeah, close to the kitchen there's a staircase up to the attic, and the attic has never been used of this house. It's a really large attic, but across the entire floor of the attic just lays this yellow, I don't know what it's called in English, the yellow things for isolation across the entire floor. So the attic has never been used, and I think it could be a really good place to have concerts at. And there's a window in the attic where you can look over the town, and then there's a bedroom, and the person that owns this house has a lot of different blankets for the bed. There's very different colorful patterns. There's one blanket of like screws and spikes and mutters in different colors. Like screws and spikes and mutters wouldn't be nice to sleep on. But it's funny basically. And then there's a lot of stuff like that. What else is there? A lot of coolness. A lot of cool paintings in the living room. And there's also a lot of VHS tapes of a lot of movies. But about 10 years ago there was a thick screen TV that could play VHS tapes, but he threw it away. So now you can no longer play the movies. And when I make food in the kitchen, I usually play the albums, or recently at least, I've been playing Jazzmatazz, Blue Lines, It's Great When You're Straight, Bauhaus, and also a compilation of Everything But the Girl. And what else? Yeah, so if you go down to the library and then you go out from the living space of the house, you will enter a area with plates on the floor, like white plates, and it looks kind of like a cafe space, but it's empty. Okay, and there's like plates all over the floor, but white plates, and it looks like a cafe space that has no chairs and no tables. And about 100 years ago, when the house was built, it was a butcher who lived there and had a shop where he sold meat there. So it was a butcher's place where he butchered the animals. And it's a pretty large space with a few rooms. And there's 3 rooms which are just storage rooms, which are filled with just things. There's magazines, comic books, CDs, furniture, a lot of furniture like lamps and things that just been laying away for more than 20 years and has never been used. And I found a purple UV lamp there that looks like a lightsaber. Then if you can also go out of the house from this space with the plates. Then you enter the garden. And there's a shed in the garden, or like a garage, and in there's a lot of garden tools, a lot of stuff, lawnmowers, and there are like more than 10 bikes, because he also collects bikes, so there's a lot of bikes. And and you can bike. It takes about an hour or less. Now there's a bird screaming at me. It wants me to feed it. It's a seagull. It wants me to feed it bread or paprika. So it takes about under an hour to bike to the sea, because this house is pretty close to the sea, and this is Sweden's south coast, and there are very long beaches there. So a lot of beach, so you can bike to the beach. And this house is in the countryside, so it's right in between the cities. Or actually, I won't say. So and what else? Yeah, right. Also, so there's now the seagull is really 1 second here. I'll be back. Okie dokie. So yeah, right, so there's like a room in this bottom floor where there's plates all over the floor, which looks a lot like just the entrance to a cafe. You could even build a disc there where you can serve coffee, and it can look a lot like a yeah. So and what else? There's a stair if you're on this bottom floor. The seagull is walking around this table and screaming at me. Does it have its nest here? I don't know. So if you walk down a staircase on the bottom floor, you enter the basement, and the basement is also pretty large. And there's like concrete walls everywhere, but I think you could have a hip-hop club there if you wanted to. Yeah, that would be dope. So you got the cafe area, you got the basement, and you got the living area, and the living area consists of 2 floors. The bottom floor with the library, with the remote control record player, and the top floor. So, and there's a lot of vinyl records, a lot of good music, and yeah, a lot of art everywhere. So when I came there last week, I don't know, I made food so slowly for whatever reason. I spent so much time in the kitchen, like all day just went by doing that, playing CDs in the kitchen and making food. I don't know why it took all day, but then and I also read books. So there's a lot of stuff to do there. It's like when I'm in Gothenburg, I don't have energy to do anything, but I'm there, I have energy to do everything. I have things to do all the time. It's like cool house, cool shit. So yeah, it's awesome. I love this house. I do. And there's a balcony too. A little balcony where there's sun in the mornings, and you can also climb up on the roof. And there's a little garden, but there's not much in the garden, just grass and a few trees that were planted like 2 years ago, actually, in the middle of the garden. A willow tree and an apple tree and some other tree. And what else is there? Well, when I think about this house, I mostly just think about a lot of records and a lot of books. So you can play a lot of records and read a lot of books. That's what I think about. And I also think about sorting through stuff. Like when I was there last autumn, I went through everything the guy that owns the house has in his storage rooms. And I like lifted out absolutely everything to go through everything there is there, so that I know what he has there. And like I said, these things have been lying there without anyone touching them for more than 20 years. So, and I was looking at all this and seeing, but I definitely didn't go through all of it. But there's a lot of cool stuff that's not being used. So you could already theoretically, in the course of a day, get a coffee machine, open the door, put tables and chairs in the bottom area of the house and just sell coffee. Of course, that is not professional, but if you want to have a cafe already the first day you come there, you can. And I'm not talking to you. I am not talking to you. I'm saying generally. Okay, so now I am in Stockholm, and it's so beautiful here. There's flowers here all over the ground in this park. Yellow, white, purple flowers. And I told you before what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna go to south of Stockholm, the south suburbs of Stockholm, to the culture area that the government wants to destroy, and they even destroyed half of it 5 years ago. So now there's only one half left, and there's walls everywhere. It's actually an abandoned military structure with a lot of concrete walls, and people been drawing graffiti on them for like the last 30 years, and it's legal, so anyone can come there and do graffiti artworks. And it's a little bit, it really is like a sandbox for adults, because what you can do there is you can also play music, you can bring large speakers, you can draw a star on one of the concrete walls, create a scene, and bring turntables, and be a DJ, and bring microphones, and you can do whatever you want. So that's what I want to do, because no one else is doing it. That culture died 20 years ago. Pretty much, maybe that's being too, maybe didn't die. Like DJ Shadow made an album in 2019 that has some cool hip hop. But what was I gonna say? Yes, right, I was gonna say this, that in this culture place where there's a lot of graffiti, it might just be the case that there's a house car or a trailer, I don't know what it's called, hidden behind the walls in a little forest. And if this guy did what he basically more or less said that he was gonna do, he has been living here for all winter when there was snow in Stockholm, a lot of snow, and he's been living there in his trailer for all of winter. And if he's still there, I'm going to visit him today, and I'm going to surprise him, because he's probably not expecting me. So and then I'm gonna tell him, now there's a man with people. Yeah, so I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna tell him, yo, I will paint your trailer. I will do it in the course of a day, and your trailer will be an artwork, man. It will be a spaceship. And after I've done that, we're gonna go, man, in your trailer on an adventure. So that's what I'm gonna tell him. See if that works out, because often shit like that doesn't work out. Often you make up a lot of ideas and it never happens that it turns out the way you make up the ideas. We'll see. Whatever, man. I have my plan B is to just go to this house by myself. See what happens. I'm not saying that you have to come, but I am of course inviting you. That is not anything to hide. And that's what I wanted to say. That's what I am passionate about right now. And of course I'm also gonna make philosophy videos, but that's not my first priority. And I hope you are having a great day. Okay? Wherever you are in Germany. So, bye.